Coco Gauff's second-round match against Donna Vekic at the 2025 U.S. Open had everything fans could ask for: tension, high-level tennis, emotional vulnerability, and ultimately a powerful display of resilience. Under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium, more than 20,000 people watched as Gauff turned a shaky, tearful start into one of the most emotional victories of her young career. From the very first game, it was clear that Vekic had come prepared to test Gauff. The Croatian played aggressively, stepping inside the baseline to attack Gauff's second serve, which has been a point of vulnerability in recent months. Gauff, meanwhile, tried to impose her trademark athleticism, using her speed and anticipation to turn defense into offense, but her serve betrayed her at critical moments. By the middle of the set, she had already racked up several double faults, each one sending murmurs through the crowd. At 4-4 in the first set, the tension boiled over. A double fault handed Vekic the crucial break, and Gauff's frustration visibly spilled onto her face. She sat down at the changeover with her head buried in a towel, shoulders shaking. Cameras caught her wiping away tears. For a moment, it seemed like the pressure of expectations, of playing as a Grand Slam champion in front of a home crowd, might overwhelm her. But as she later admitted, that moment of tears was also a moment of release. She let the emotion out, and when she stood back up, something changed. Vekic then took a medical timeout for treatment, and Gauff used that brief pause to reset. She splashed water on her face, breathed deeply, and reminded herself why she was out there. When play resumed, Gauff fought like a different player. The set stayed tight, with both women trading heavy ground strokes and testing each other's resolve. Gauff's serve continued to wobble. She would finish the set with 7 double faults, but her competitive fire carried her through. Every time Vekic pressed forward, Gauff's foot speed and defensive grit turned rallies back in her favor. The set went to a tiebreak. Even there, the nerves crept in. Gauff opened it with another double fault. But instead of folding, she steadied her game. She struck her forehand with more purpose, locked in on the baseline exchanges, and seized the big points when they mattered most. With the crowd rising to its feet, Gauff edged the tiebreak 7-5. She pumped her fist, but her eyes welled again, not with despair this time, but with relief. Once she had the first set in her pocket, the match shifted dramatically. The second set saw the Coco Gauff that fans have come to love: fearless, focused, and relentless. She reduced the errors, improved her first serve percentage, and kept her double faults to just 1. Suddenly, her forehand was firing, her backhand down the line was cutting through the court, and her movement suffocated Vekic's attempts to dictate play. The crowd, sensing the change in momentum, grew louder with every game. Gauff fed off their energy, her confidence swelling point by point. At 3-1, she broke serve with a blistering forehand return, and from there, the result felt inevitable. She closed out the set 6-2, sealing her place in the third round of the U.S. Open for the 5th consecutive year. When the final ball was struck and victory was hers, the emotions that had been building all night overflowed once more. Gauff bent over, covering her face with her hands. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but this time they were tears of joy, of catharsis, of triumph. As the stadium erupted, she walked to the microphone for the on-court interview, her voice trembling with gratitude. "You guys bring me so much joy," she told the crowd. "I'm doing this for myself, but I'm also doing it for you." The word struck deep, a reminder of the bond between player and fans, of the human story that exists beneath the statistics and scorelines. Gauff later explained that for her, the tears weren't a sign of weakness. They were proof that she cared, that she was giving everything she had. "Strength isn't about not showing emotion," she said. "It's about finding a way to rise through it." On this night, she embodied that philosophy. Another striking moment came when Gauff mentioned the inspiration she drew from Simone Biles, who was in attendance that evening. Gauff said she thought about Biles standing on a narrow beam, competing under unimaginable pressure, and used that image to remind herself that she too could handle the weight of expectation on a tennis court. That perspective helped calm her nerves and fuel her comeback. Technically, the match wasn't perfect. Gauff still finished with more than 30 unforced errors, and her serve remains a work in progress despite bringing in a biomechanics expert before the tournament. But champions are not defined by perfection. They are defined by resilience. And in that sense, this was one of Gauff's defining nights. For Vekic, it was a tough loss. She had her chances in the first set and pushed Gauff to the edge, but she couldn't sustain the level once Gauff found her rhythm. Still, she played a part in creating a match that fans will remember not just for the tennis, but for the raw humanity on display. For Gauff, the victory was about more than advancing to the third round. It was about proving to herself that vulnerability and strength can coexist. She showed that an athlete doesn't have to hide their emotions to be powerful. Tears, when faced honestly, can be transformed into fuel. As she walked off the court, waving to the fans who had stood by her through every double fault, every wipe of the tears, and every moment of doubt, the message was clear. Coco Gauff is not just a champion because she wins matches. She is a champion because she fights through the moments when it would be easier to give in. This match reminded everyone that greatness in sport is not about never falling, it's about rising each time you do. And on this unforgettable night in New York, Coco Gauff rose higher than ever.